Hello, welcome to Peace and Parental Alienation. My name is Glenn Sollers, and this is episode number 11. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And I was thinking about, what can I do with this podcast to make things more fun? And I like fun. I'm trying to be more goofy in my life, not take things as serious as I normally do. And that is one of my faults, is I am just very serious about things. And I was thinking, do I do the lighter side of parental alienation? And I couldn't find anything because it's not a fun topic. This is a very serious topic, but I'm going to try to add some elements of just taking it easy, relaxing, seeing a bit of the lighter side of what's going on, even though it's a very, very heavy topic. Just want to remind all my listeners as well that I am not an expert. I've been going through this for about 6-7 years in respect to the process of not seeing my child regularly. And for now, 5 years, I have not seen my child at all. Other than one time, I believe I saw him at a coffee shop, which is great that I actually was able to see him. However, I don't know 100% if it was him or not. I think it was, but I'm not too certain, as it was mask season, right? With COVID, so we're both covered. I'm not an expert. I'm sharing my experiences. I'm letting you know what I have lived, what I have tried, what I have done, and I encourage you to try some of these things out. However, it's also best to see a therapist. On that note, though, there are so many different therapies out there. I don't know what the right one is. I stopped seeing a therapist because nothing seemed to work for me other than me processing things as I needed to. Now, on that note, I have taken a number of courses out there that have really helped me discover who I am, because there's so many things going on in parental alienation that I cannot control. I cannot control an alienating parent at all, especially if an alienating parent has some sort of personality disorder. Good luck trying to control that. You are setting yourself up for more anger, resentment, upset, because you cannot win with somebody who has certain personality disorders. They're in it to win it. And if you fight, like I mentioned in an earlier episode, it's like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. You will suffer. I have suffered. I still suffer, and I'm still discovering things. So a couple of programs or things that you could look at that, again, have helped me. One is I did something called the New Warrior Training Adventure, and this is targeted at men. If you are a woman listening to this podcast, there are programs like Inner Yoga, the Inner Predator. These programs are designed to put you in greater control of your life by understanding your history, understanding how patterns are formed, how these patterns have created certain identities in terms of how you see yourself, and then appreciating that. And knowing that we're essentially just a bunch of computer programs that have been programmed a certain way, and this helps dissect the programming so you can look at yourself and say, this is what's working, this is what's not working based on my current age, what can I do differently moving forward? And I think for me, that's one of the big things about all this, is identifying what can I do, what have I learned, so that when my child hopefully returns into my life, that I am with him. And also that I'm giving myself, my best self, to those around me now. Like I am building a greater me, a more authentic me. The other workshop that I found worked really well, and each workshop has pros and cons, was Landmark. And Landmark, I want to assure you, based on my experience, it can come across as a marketing organization. However, if you actually get into the listening of the content, what they're sharing with you in the program, like you put the marketing spin aside, wow, super powerful program. I do think it misses certain elements, such as the importance of having certain feelings in your body, acknowledging those feelings, discovering what those feelings really mean in your body. So, for example, with me, I have shoulder pain and I have stress in my neck. And generally, when that happens, it's a message being sent to me that I'm not being who I really am. It's a physiological response to a stress stimuli. So, what is that stress stimuli? And Landmark does a really good job at identifying what you can do and what you can make possible. And again, I think the challenge with Landmark is more around the fact that it does have a physical element to it as well in terms of our who we are and how we show up in the world. So that was the only drawback. However, again, both fabulous programs. There's different coaching programs out there. I went through Clear Beliefs Coaching, which is really around looking at your beliefs and how do you coach people to uncover those beliefs that they have that make them who they are today. To me, that was the most beneficial program that I went through. It's not cheap, and it gives you the tools to be able to coach yourself and coach others. However, it really helps dig deeper in terms of who you are, why are you who you are, what are some traumas you might have been through in your life, how do you unlock those traumas, how do you move forward, how do you create new belief systems within yourself. And that's what I'm going to talk to you a bit about today, is just around your identity, your belief systems that inform that identity. Prior to proceeding, just want to give you a little update in terms of my advocacy initiative with the government. I am not advocating with the government anymore. I met with my MLA, and that here in Canada is a member of the parliament in your province, and had a great conversation with him. He was an amazing guy to talk to. We bounced ideas off each other. And what I was really impressed with was how he actually listened to me and took my ideas and moved them forward up the food chain to the powers that be in respect to parental alienation in the judicial system. He said to me, Glenn, I spoke to this gentleman, and who I've written to a letter to before as well, and I received a similar response. And he said, Glenn, when I mentioned parental alienation to him and what you're going through, he had a visceral response. And if I pursue this, I'm just going to cause myself more and more stress. And people have been pursuing parental alienation for years and years and years. And it is a very complex topic, which I talked about in the last episode. However, there's so many moving parts in this, and to correct the system, it's going to be very difficult. And ultimately, you are likely dealing with somebody who has a disorder. And as such, they may not be able to be rational about what's going on. So until the mental health side of society, in my opinion, connects with the judicial side of society, connects with the educational side of society, I think we're challenged, because if you have a disorder like that, it's not like you're going to be willing to try to give something up. You likely have some deep-rooted insecurities. And how is a judge, how is a lawyer, how are people that support this industry and family law system supposed to understand all that? Because you're not dealing with logic. You're not dealing with what norms are. You're dealing with a mind that has been through some trauma. And until that person is willing to, if ever, work on it, you're pretty much hooped. Identity. When my son told me, Dad, I want to sleep at Mom's house from now on, I lost my identity. And an identity is how one sees themselves. And there's great parts of our identity, that like how we see ourselves. So for me, I always saw myself as very compassionate, caring, energetic, enthusiastic, open-minded. And there's also part of my identity that wasn't so good in how I saw myself. I'm not good enough. I need to try harder. I need to get things perfect. And so we have this identity that's being created over our life based on generational trauma, based on our history, based on our parents, and so many other factors really inform who we are and how we see ourselves. And one big factor is how we see a parent. And we all have had experiences with our parents, good and bad, but they probably did the best that they could. And what I saw a parent was as somebody who would see a child grow up, love that child, play with that child, be with that child, be there to share stories, experiences, go to the hockey games, watch them at sporting events, whatever it might be, until I die. That's what my identity was I am a great father. The day this happened, my identity was ripped away from me. Folks, this is trauma. This can lead to, and I think for me, this definitely was it, post-traumatic stress disorder. It is something that's significant. It happens in your life, just like if somebody gets a disease and they recover from it. It was a traumatic event. About 7 years ago, and this is just another example to reflect on, I carried a lot on my shoulders, as I always do. And I feel it's up to me to resolve issues. And you know a bit about me as I've been very open in this podcast in respect to who I am. And I had a very difficult morning. I was trying to please people out there, as I always do. I'm a people pleaser. And I had a bit of a weird meeting in the morning, and then I had a call with my boss, and the call with my boss stressed me out a bit, and I didn't have any water that morning, and I just had a bunch of sugar, and I had a number of coffees, and I'm walking down the street, and I think these were all contributing factors to what happened, but I started wobbling, and I woke up in an ambulance with this ambulance attendant looking down at me. I had no idea what just happened. I was clueless. I didn't know where I was. Carted off to the hospital. And that was a big eye-opening experience for me. Now, the reason I share this with you, I believe, because I couldn't find anything, this was stress-induced, because I know I carry a lot on my shoulders, and your system can only handle so much stress, and then it loses it. So I needed to figure out, well, what can I start letting go of in my life? And I still am doing that. What can I let go of? What can I do to achieve greater peace? Because I don't know what peace really is. I didn't grow up in a peaceful environment. So how can I be expected to actually be at peace if I don't know what to do? And what I mean by that is I've never learned how to be at peace. I always learned how to be hypervigilant. And now I need to establish some new ways of being through getting advice from other people in terms of what can I do to relax? However, for about 5 years after that experience, whenever I was walking, I carried water with me, because that's the last thing I remember before I passed out was I need some water. That is an example of what happens when you see yourself a certain way, something occurs, and how it shifts your behaviors, your patterns, your anxiety, many different things. Parental alienation is no different. Your identity as a caring, loving parent is now gone. The identity you have in terms of your family being there for your child, because my mom and my child, they always had the best of times. My son loved my mom. My ex's mother is a wonderful lady, but my son definitely had much more fun with my mom. They always laughed. They always giggled. They always played. They always did things. That's gone. That part of the identity. The identity of my brother and his children having a relationship with my son having relationships with everybody in his family, my son having relationships with friends where we're out there playing together, doing things together. That's all gone. it leaves a huge hole in your identity. And it also says to you, wow, your identity is flawed. Be mindful. You're likely an amazing person. And like us all, you likely have things that you need to work on. And there's reasons why what happened. And there's things that you could have done differently. And I could beat myself up endlessly in respect to what I did not do and what I did do and what I should have done differently. Again, most of us are dealing with rather somebody who has some sort of disorder. So it's important to recognize that. However, for me, it's been very hard not to have many regrets in terms of what I did or did not do. Your identity is taken away. Now what? This takes work, and it's still work for me. I had certain beliefs about who I was. I had to look at those beliefs, and I'm still looking at these beliefs because I'm not at peace with what's going on yet. Will I ever be at peace? Likely not. And there are things that I can do incrementally to build greater peace. However, I had to look at my identity. I identified as a father, and a father, based on my definition of a father, includes many different qualities, characteristics, actions, reactions, and I have to redo those. I have to create new meaning around what does it mean to be a father, such as, do I have to see my child to be a father? Do I have to play with my child and be there and see him grow up to be a father? Although this is hard to do, to not have your child in your life and still carry an identity of father, it sounds like it's next to impossible. And it does take work. It does take reflection. And I'm doing this on the fly with you right now. I don't have any notes in front of me. I don't really operate that way. I can look at myself as a father who is tremendously resilient, compassionate. I don't give up. I keep on sending letters, cards to my son. In fact, I sent a card, registered mail to him. Unfortunately, it was never picked up because there's likely a gatekeeper at the front gate making sure nothing gets through to my son, because that would show my ex that your dad cares about you. And that would threaten her power that she likely has over my son. And she wants to make sure that power, and I'm being very speculative here. It may not be the case, but this is just my story. That if there's any sign of hope that he may connect with me, it may threaten her, and he is likely the center of her attention. Without him, what is she? Don't know if that's true or not, just speculation. So I can be a father who loves unconditionally. I can be a father who realizes that we each have our own journey. We all have our own discoveries, and that I know that all my friends and people who know me and who have known me through the relationship with my ex-wife all say, Glenn, you are an amazing dad. And I am an amazing dad. I am trying to fight to see my son. I also respected some of his wishes, wishing I didn't. Like I shared a while ago that he threatened me to not come to his hockey games, otherwise he wouldn't see me for a very long time. Wow, I just handed him the keys and said, okay, you drive. Versus, no, I care deeply about you. I'm going to show up to your hockey games. And you may not like it, but I'll be there because I'm not going to give up on you. So by me rather handing him the keys, which was probably a message that was kind of manipulated, his mother won, which made him win, right? He's an extension of his mom. That's what an alienator is. They look for somebody to extend their beliefs onto. So two of them can be in cahoots and they support each other. And I'm about to read a book that was referred to me around codependence, just to understand this a bit more. And then I'll do an episode on codependence and share with you what my insights are. Very complex. Other things that I could identify as a father: that I am a great husband, that I was able to find the love of my life and be with her. And we had our tough times, both of us having children. Wow, did we ever have our tough times. And we made it. And now she and I have an incredible life together. We travel. We have an amazing community of friends. We've created a life that I am so grateful for. So grateful for this life. And when he comes to see me eventually, he knows I was in good hands. And that I created this life regardless of what he went through, which will hopefully teach him some lessons, because he'll likely be alienated from his kids, as history does repeat itself if he does have children. But I'm going to be that strong parent. I'm going to be that trustworthy parent, as I always have been. I'm going to be that parent that encourages him. So you're creating a new identity. And wow, isn't that something to really connect with? Yeah, shit happens. Wow, did you go through a tough time? And you're going through a tough time. But your child needs you to survive. There was a post recently on a group I'm with, and the person shared that they were ready to take their own life. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, yeah, I get it. It feels so helpless at times because we are locked in this identity and it's gone. How do we survive? But folks, your child is going to need you. And this is, I think I shared in one of the previous episodes, one person said to me, he said, Glenn, stay strong. Work on yourself. Be ready. Your child will need you. Because what your child experienced was psychological abuse. And he will need somebody with a level head, or she, and I'm just using he in this case because it's my son, to be with, to share experiences with, to support. And I am so excited about having a future with him. Yeah, I missed his teenage years, and sometimes I think maybe that's a good thing, because teenagers can be brutal. I was brutal. But I'll be there. And we are going to have a powerful, powerful relationship. The sad part is, it's almost like karma sucks. His mom may have the opposite time and will likely go through what I went through. I'm not going to say more about that in terms of what my feelings are. But there comes a time where you have to pay the price of your actions, regardless of your intent. And I'm sure her intent was very positive for the most part. However, again, I'm not in that space, so I don't know. And my son is doing well. So something is going right. Now, later on, he will need it to continue to go right once he is old enough to start discovering what the truth is, not what he has been led to believe is the truth. Rebuild your identity. And yeah, you might have friends out there that see their kids, and I have that experience. Like, I was mountain biking the other day with one of my good buddies, and he got a call on while I was mountain biking. His son said, "Dad, I need your help." Wow, would I love to get a call like that? And it saddened me that I don't have my son calling me, "Hey, Dad, I need your help." It's hard. However, it allows me to focus on what can be done It allows me to focus on the future that I am creating. It allows me to be more with the people I'm with, to create an identity of a father who has been through a war and who has survived that war. Whew, that is strong. You think about our forefathers. My grandfather died in the war, and there is bravery there, and there is courage. Sadly, again, he passed away, but many who have survived it are dealing with issues now, but they got through it. There are many difficult aspects in life that we have to go through. If we can be willing to let go of who we are and willing to embrace, what have I learned? What didn't I do? What did I do? What could I do differently? How do I want to be? How do I want to change who I am? How do I want to be a more powerful parent, a more powerful partner, a more powerful friend, more powerful in my community? You are building a stronger you. Folks, thanks for listening.